center received a number of calls for shots fired at the Columbia Mall. We had officers quickly get into the area, and we were able to identify 3 victims at an upper-level store in the Columbia Mall. One of those victims appears to be the shooter.
The Columbia Mall in Maryland reopened today for the first time since a gunman walked in with a shotgun and shot and killed 2 mall employees aged 21 and 25 and injured several others before killing himself. This latest in a string of shootings, of course, across the United States. In Oklahoma, Senator Nathan Dahm's proposed, get this, the Piers Morgan Constitutional Right to Keep and Bear Arms Without Infringement Act. The bill would allow anyone to carry a firearm without a license. Senator Dahm joins me now on the call. Welcome to you, Senator. Explain to me why you've come up with this act, why my name's involved, and what you hope to achieve.
Well, the act itself, like you said, it would actually just allow people to carry a firearm without a permit. There's 35 states that already allow that here in America. In fact, 5 states are constitutional carry states that you don't have to have a permit to carry openly or concealed. And Vermont, the age is actually at 16 in Vermont to be able to.
Right. What's it going to do with me?
Well, with this bill, when I was going to be running the bill, I thought, well, a lot of times with different bills, it's very ironic in the way names are come up with. We have the Patriot Act, one of the most unpatriotic act ever passed by Republicans. We have the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. It has been proven now to be unaffordable, and it's with the security issues from the website, it looks to be, not protecting the patients at all. And I've seen a lot of times in my own state legislature, people will assign a name to a bill to ensure its passage. If it has the term child in it or anything like that, you don't want to vote against it, because a lot of times people will look at it and say, oh, this person, that person voted against children. It doesn't matter what the content of the bill is. So I just thought, what a better way to start a conversation, a discussion, especially with you, on the Second Amendment than to name a bill after you.
And what is your point about the Second Amendment?
It's a constitutional right that we have that is enshrined. It's a God-given but constitutionally protected right.
Explain this to me, Senator. Look, do you know what this is?
Absolutely. I've seen those and actually ate those when I was growing up. It's a Kinder Surprise egg.
Right. Describe it.
Well, it's a... Depends. Is that the old style one or the new style? The old style was it was a chocolate shell, and inside it actually had a little toy for the child where they would open it up.
You realise they're illegal, not just in Oklahoma, but in the whole of America. Probably breaking the law just by holding one. They're illegal. Do you know why they're illegal?
Because the government has interfered and is trying to protect us from ourselves.
Right. Because they're a health hazard. Get the irony?
What is the irony?
Well, I'm not allowed to eat a chocolate egg in America. It's illegal. And yet I can go and buy, I think it's 2,360 different types of gun.
The federal government has become very intrusive.
Because of your constitutional rights to have guns. I can't eat this chocolate egg. Does that strike you as strange?
It does indeed. The federal government has become very intrusive, and they are operating outside of their constitutional authority in many areas.
So you battle hard with me to save the Kinder Egg for the American people?
Oh, I love the Kinder Eggs. I've given those to my cousins and different people for years. Yeah, it's a fun little...
Let's get serious about guns. Because I've had lots of arguments with people about the Second Amendment, about the constitutional rights to have guns. What I want to talk to you about is, where is the right of an American to not be shot? Where is the right of an American parent to not have to worry about their child going to school and being shot? There have been 36 separate school shootings now in America since Newtown, and absolutely no politician is doing anything about it. You're one of the few to do anything, and your solution to this is to have more guns on the streets, not fewer guns.
And so the question is, where is their right not to have
someone... At what point does the right to life, does the right to not have your child shot, supersede your determination to have more guns on the streets of America?
Well, the right to life is enshrined in our founding document, the Declaration of Independence. It says that we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Why do you think more lives will be saved by flooding the streets with more guns?
Well, this won't flood the streets with more guns.
Just to clarify, you want everyone in Oklahoma to have the right to just carry guns anywhere they wish, right?
Correct. I want them to have the right, but I'm not going to force them to carry a gun. I'm not going to force them to purchase a gun.
But it
is a right.
But therefore, you would like more guns on the streets.
I think that the more people that carry guns, yes, the less crime there is.
Do you really believe that, Senator?
Absolutely.
You really believe that, presumably, ultimately, your utopia is that every American wanders around the streets of America armed, and that makes it safer?
No, because I'm not going to force anyone to violate what they don't want to do. So if they don't want to carry a gun, they don't have to. But I'm not going to take away other people's rights to carry a gun if they want to do so. So it's about protecting people's rights. It's about protecting their right to keep and bear arms. And that's the difference. It's a right, a God-given, constitutionally protected right to keep and bear arms.
Okay, let's take a break. Let's come back and debate this a little more after the break. Right now, State Senator Nathan Dahm from Oklahoma, who's attempting to immortalise me with his proposed bill, the Piers Morgan Constitutional Right to Keep and Bear Arms Without Infringement Act. Senator Dahm is back with me on the grill. Let's just go through a few things. Would you support any of the key gun control proposals being put forward by President Obama, Dahm, and others? Let's go through them quickly. Would you support an assault weapons ban?
No, I would not.
Of any description?
No, I would not.
Would you support a ban on high-capacity magazines, say over 10 bullets?
No, I would not.
Would you support universal background checks?
I would not support any of the propositions that they have presented or that you have presented, but you all are more than willing to present those solutions as a constitutional amendment. Just to propose them as a
If
law
88%
or as an executive order will not work.
Right. If 88% of the American people support background checks, according to the last poll, why would you not support that? What is your argument against knowing whether somebody about to buy a gun is mentally insane and can be proven to be mentally insane, or is a criminal because of a criminal record? Why would you not want to know that?
Because the Constitution, as it currently is stated, as it is currently written, says the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Even if you're mentally insane or criminal?
If you want to amend and change the Constitution, there's a way to do that, and it's through the amendment process.
But you don't, just to clarify, you don't want people to know if somebody buying a gun is mentally insane or criminal?
There was, at one point in time, a majority of people that felt that alcohol should be prohibited in America. And as a result of that, we got the 18th Amendment.
Right, I'm talking about guns.
I'm talking about
I just want to clarify. I think it's quite important because many pro-gun people always say to me, it's a big mental health issue. Yet what you appear to be telling me is you don't even want to check if people are mentally insane and can be proven to be mentally insane before they purchase a gun.
If you're talking about mental health in relation to guns, you're just addressing a symptom, not the problem. If you want to talk about mental health, then we can talk about mental health.
Okay, but how do you do that if you don't check if they're mentally insane?
Well, we need to address mental health first.
How do you tackle that if you don't even want to check if they're mentally insane?
Well, if you want to talk about mental health issues, I mean, and if you think that the government is somehow going to protect American citizens against mental health, our government has dropped the ball even on our troops.
No.
In recent years,
Senator,
more troops have died by
it's a
their
very
own
simple
hand
question.
because of
Here's
mental
the
health
question.
issues
I'm obviously,
than in the past in
I'm
war.
obviously confusing you. Let's try and make it simpler. You don't want to have any background checks on guns whatsoever, right?
Correct.
It's your constitutional God-given right to not have any checks.
We are innocent until proven guilty in America.
But you're very concerned about mental health being a problem and not the gun, right?
Mental health is the root of the problem with any mental health related gun issues.
And yet, despite your belief that mental health is the key problem, not the gun, which I think is a preposterous, disproportionate way of looking at it, but despite that, taking you at face value, even though you think mental health is the key problem with gun violence in America, you still don't want to have any background check to see if somebody who is buying a gun may have a record of mental insanity. Now, explain to me why that in itself is not completely insane.
First of all, that's not what I said, Piers. I don't believe that mental health is the number one major issue with guns in America. I was saying that in regards to mental health...
What is the number one contributing factor to gun violence?
I can answer that one.
Well, if it's not guns or mental health, what else could it possibly be?
Now, if you want, I can answer the previous question or these last three that you've thrown out here.
The floor is yours, Senator.
Well, it's your show. I mean, I'm here as a guest. I'd be more than happy to answer
Senator,
however
the
you
floor
want.
is yours, but I would like you to answer this question. How do you deal with the problem of mental health if you don't even want a background check which might reveal somebody has a history of mental illness?
And if we implement that mental health check or background check, and as you wrote in your book, the Aurora shooter would have passed through all those checks, then what? What's the next solution? Because we still wouldn't have been able to stop it in this instance, so what's the next solution?
Right.
Because we could potentially, if we implemented those, whatever concerns you have, whatever solutions you have, we could still potentially have this problem.
If, as you
like
said, if the key issue is not mental health or guns in gun violence, what is it?
What do you mean?
What else could it possibly be?
Well, like I said, I mean, if you want
to... it wasn't guns and it wasn't mental health. What is the key contributing factor to gun violence and gun death in America if it's not guns or mental health issues?
It is a sin nature in mankind.
Sin nature in mankind.
It is an evilness that exists in some people that are willing to violate other people's rights, their right to life, for instance, as you suggested earlier. It is somebody that is willing to do harm to someone else.
Right. But the only
Because
answer...
they have evil in their heart.
Yes,
That is
I
the
got it.
reason.
So the only answer to gun violence in America, as far as you can tell and you can deduce, is to have more guns on the streets and more people publicly carrying guns.
No, that's not the only answer, but that is one of the answers for sure. Yes.
How would that be an answer?
Because then law-abiding citizens, good guys, would be able to protect themselves from bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
There would be a lot fewer victims and more people that are willing to enable to actually protect themselves.
You realise that in every country that's brought in tough gun control, whether it's Australia or Japan or Britain or other countries, there's been a dramatic reduction in gun violence, gun death by suicide, murder and so on. You realise that?
Well, and I realize that you have also mentioned in your book and in many writings that you want to ban assault weapons in America, but not handguns. Is that correct?
Well, I think assault weapons is a good start, but you don't even believe that, right?
But you do want to ban handguns as well.
I'm not a fan of guns full stop.
And shotguns?
Well, I understand why people want guns for hunting. I would do it under licensing. But you want to remove the licensing aspect of any gun ownership in Oklahoma, don't you? That's part of the Piers Morgan Act. You don't even want to have any licensing. You want no checks at all, do you, Senator? You just want a return, basically, to every Oklahoman walking around with a gun on their holster, like the Wild West. And I simply put it to you. In fact, don't let me put it to you. Let me play you a clip. This is from a man called David Wheeler. This is what he said about his son Ben, who was killed at the Sandy Hook massacre, and what he felt it should say to America and Americans about guns. Let's watch this.
Liberty of any person to own a military-style assault weapon and a high-capacity magazine and keep them in their home is second to the right of my son to his life. Let's honor the founding documents and get our priorities straight.
Senator Dahm, simple question. Do you agree with him that his son's right to his life should supersede the right of an American to own a military-style assault weapon or high-capacity magazine?
I believe that his son has his right to life, and it's very saddening that there was not somebody there to protect
Is his son's right to life more important than an American's right to own a military-style assault weapon and high-capacity magazine, as he said?
See, the problem...
Yes or no?
The problem here, Piers, is that you don't understand what rights are. You yourself said just a moment ago that you're fine with people having...
I'm confused about what you think your rights are. There's a Sandy Hook father who lost his young son, Ben, who was, I think, 6 years old. And he's simply putting the question out there for other Americans, including you, to determine what is more important, the right of his child to live or your right to have an assault rifle and a high-capacity magazine. So which is more important? Now, he says his son's right to life is more important. Do you agree with him? Or do you not agree with him?
I believe that both of them should and could coexist.
Which is more important? Because one has to come above the other.
Well, no, they don't. One does not have to come above the other. Because we do have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but we also do have a right to keep and bear arms. And yes, somebody should not take that right and violate somebody else's right and take a life, and they should be punished accordingly if they do that. But you don't understand what a right is, and that's the problem here.
Do you know the wording of the Second Amendment?
Yes.
Go on.
A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed.
Where does the well-regulated militia part come into this?
So you would say that it would be fine for militia members and maybe military, police to own AK,
yes.
to own AR-15s?
Yes, I believe the police and military should be, I believe they're part of a well-regulated militia.
Okay.
What is well-regulated about Oklahomans all being armed in the streets, civilians, without even a license or a background check or anything else? What part of that constitutes what the founding fathers in your Constitution described as a well-regulated militia?
Well, you just to clarify again, you are fine with militia members owning AR-15s?
No, I'm fine with the military or the police in any country having weapons.
Okay.
Absolutely fine. My brother, as I've said many times,
rifles.
is a British Army colonel. He's fought in Iraq and Afghanistan with American servicemen. I don't need to be told about guns or how they're used or when they are important to be used.
I just want to clarify.
But I simply want to clarify with you, what part of a well-regulated militia allows you to put this bill out using my name to get yourself some cheap publicity sort of make a mockery of the whole thing. What part allows you to say that Oklahomans should all just be able to be armed to the teeth in the streets with no licensing or background checks, and that constitutes somehow a well-regulated militia as laid down by your founding fathers?
First of all, I'm not here to get attention for myself. I'm here to get attention on the issue. But to answer your question, if I may, because you said that you're fine with military, with militia, with police having assault rifles.
Yeah.
Title 44 of the Oklahoma statute defines militia, and it says that the militia is made up of three parts: the Oklahoma National Guard, the Oklahoma State Guard, and the unorganized militia, which is every able-bodied citizen between the ages of 18 and 69. Therefore, under Oklahoma statute, in conformity with the United States Constitution, every able-bodied U.S. citizen in Oklahoma has the right and the authority and the constitutional authority and the statutory authority to be a part of the militia and to keep and bear arms. And according to what you say about militia members, they therefore have the right to have an assault weapon rifle.
Do you think that most Oklahomans agree with you?
I believe so. I mean, the majority of them that I've heard from, absolutely.
They'd all be very comfortable, everyone having guns in the streets, no licensing, no background checks, no knowledge if any of those people are already mentally insane or criminals.
I would not say a definitive everyone, because that's an absolute, and I don't...
But most, the majority of Oklahomans.
Oklahoma's a very gun-friendly state.
Senator, good to talk.